Hi all, this video is going to be the discussion for the practice workbook answers of chapter 4 lesson 4. If you have not watched or practiced any questions related to lesson 4, do go watch the lesson first, practice some questions for yourself, do the homework, then come and check the answers. Just by watching the video you won't understand anything unless you practice the questions. Alright, so to start with, this is lesson 4 of chapter 4 about congruent triangles. So what did they say? In baseball, home plate is a pentagon. So this is a pentagon which has 5 sides. Pentagon ABCDE is a diagram of a regulation home plate. The baseball rules are very specific about the exact dimensions of this pentagon so that every home plate is congruent to every other home plate, which means everything should be the same. Every home plate should be same. The dimension means the measurements should be same. If pentagon PQRST is another home plate, identify each congruent corresponding part. So from the question, you can understand that they're saying pentagon ABCDE is congruent to pentagon PQRST. So write down the statement, then it's easier to identify the part. The question says identify each congruent corresponding part. They said identify, they did not say find out. So if they say find out, we need to write the numbers, but here they say identify. So they want you to find the congruent or the corresponding part for angle S. So angle S is here, which is the corresponding letter in this ABCDE for S. It's going to be D. So the corresponding angle for angle S is going to be angle D. Next is angle B. So the corresponding angle for angle B in this pentagon is angle Q. Just in place of that letter um, in the other figure, what will be the letter? You just need to find that out. EA segment EA. So EA. So in these two places, which are the two letters we have in the other pentagon? We have TP. Now make sure you write it in the same order which they ask you for. They have asked for EA, you must write it TP. You cannot write PT because that will change the order of the pentagon. Okay, angle E. So again, angle E, that is corresponding to angle T. Then segment PQ, PQ, the first two letters. So the first two letters are A and B. Next is segment TS. So TS, so it goes from this side, T to S. So which are the corresponding letters in the pentagon? ED. Do not write DE because that will again, as I said already, it will change the order. So it should be ED. The same order which they are asking, just follow that. Don't get confused even if you have any quizzes and if the orders changes. For example, if they ask the the corresponding part for TS, so for TS it should be ED. You cannot write DE, it will be wrong. Okay, so you need to keep that in mind. You have to follow the same order which they're asking the question. Moving to question 7 and 8. Given angle, a triangle DEF is congruent to triangle LMN, find each value. So you need to find the value of angle L. So angle L, you can say that it is corresponding to angle D. But the problem here is they did not give us the measure of angle D. So we cannot say angle L is, we can say angle L is equal to angle D. But what's the use? Because they did not give us a measurement here. So find out, is there any other way in the figure which we could find the value of x? Only if you find the value of x, you could find the value of angle L. So is there any other way we could find x? There is x here. So did they give us the corresponding side? Yes, they did. So to find the value of x, we need to make use of this congruent sides, which is ED is congruent to ML. You need to write the statement, right? Without the statement, you can't move on. So ED is congruent to ML, which means 2x plus 3 is equal to 53. Now through this, you can find out the value of x. This is going to be 58. X is going to be equal to 29. Right? Now, is it 29? It's going to be 53 minus 3. So it's going to be 50, not 53. It's going to be 53 minus 3, which is going to be 50. So x is going to be equal to 25. Now that we have found the value of x, we can find the value of angle L. So therefore, angle L is going to be x plus 15 degrees, which means in place of x, we replace x with 25 plus 15. That's going to give you 40 degrees. So angle L is going to be 40 degrees. If they have not given you the corresponding value, find out, is there some other side or any other angle which we could find the values of the variables. Then you could solve for the variable and then go to the question. Now, side EF, they want you to find side EF. Now, to find side EF, of course, we need to solve y first. We need to know the value of y. Similar to the previous one, again, they did not give us any number here. So we cannot say 1.5 y plus 1.3 is equal to something, but rather they gave us the angles of f and angle of n. So we could use this. So I can say angle f is congruent to angle n. So that means 5y is going to be equal to 120. Y is going to be equal to 24. Okay, now that we have found the value of y, we could easily find EF. So EF is going to be equal to 1.5y plus 1.3. So 1.5 multiplied by 24 plus 1.3. So 1.4 multiplied by 24 plus 1.3 will give you 37.3. So EF, the length of EF is going to be 37.3. If you observe the picture carefully, you can find out some way which we can find out the values of the variables and then find the answers. Okay, now before I do question number 9, I will do question 10 and the other, and then I will move to the question 9. Okay, given triangle CD is congruent to HIJ, DE is 9x, so DE is 9x. IJ is 7x plus 3. You need to find H as well as DE. Now from the statement, they said DE is 9x and IJ is 7x plus 3. So already you could see, if you highlight these two, that means they are congruent sides. So you can say DE is congruent to IJ. Okay, that means 9x equals 7x plus 3. Now that's going to be 2x equals 3. X is going to be equal to 1.5 or 3 over 2. X is going to be equal to 3 over 2, or if you simplify it into decimals or fractions, it will be 1.5 or 1.5, but I leave it like that because we are going to substitute it back in the values. So if you want to substitute it back, just leave it like that. It's okay because they did not say find the simplified version of x, right? So we found x. Now we are going to find DE. So DE is going to be 9x, which means 9 multiplied by 3 over 2, which is going to be 27 over 2. Now we need to write this in the mixed number form because we cannot leave an answer in this form, a final answer that to the length. So this is going to be 13 and a half. Hopefully you know how to change this into a mixed number. You're going to divide 27 by 2. So here comes 13 and here will come 26. So the remainder becomes the numerator, the 13 becomes the whole number, the denominator remains the same. So DE is going to be 13 and a half, or if you have turned that into decimals, that's going to be 13.5. Both the answers are right. Given now this question 11, CDE is congruent to HIJ, angle D is equal to 5y plus 1 and angle I is equal to 6y minus 2, 5. Find y and angle D. So we need to find the value of y. So from the question itself, they have told us that angle D is equal to congruent to angle I. From the order, you can find that out. So angle D is 5y plus 1 and angle I is 6y minus 25. So that means this is going to be, let me move the number. So that's going to be 1 plus 25. 6y minus 5y is going to give me a y. So y is going to be 26. So the value of y is 26. Now we could easily find the angle measure of angle D. So angle D is going to be 5y plus 1 degree, which means 5 multiplied by 26 plus 1. So that's going to give you 526 or 130. 130 plus 1 is 131. And you are done with these questions. The question solving is easy. Now let's come to this one. Write a 2-column proof. Now I know you are new to this, so it does take time. Now it's not necessarily the same order which I'm following you need to follow too, because it really depends on how you look at the question. Okay, so it depends. The order may vary. So start by writing, this is going to be the statement. You need to write here the statement. They said a 2-column proof, so this is how a 2-column proof looks like, and this is going to be the reasons. As I've already explained in the video, you need to start by the given information. So first they have given this information. Let's say angle U is congruent to angle UWV, which is also congruent to ZXY, which is also congruent to angle Z. And this information is given. Okay, now what can we derive from this information? What can we remove from this? Now you could say that because angle U is equal to UWV and ZXY is congruent to angle Z, you could say that angle V and angle Y are equal, right? So that's going to be the next statement, because they said this, so we are saying that angle V is congruent to angle Y. Why are we saying angle V is congruent to angle Y? What is that theorem which says if two angles in a triangle are equal, the other one should also be equal? That is going to be the third angles theorem. In fact, this kind of things, they are not related to only one lesson. It's a mixture of all the theorems and the things you learn, you need to put them together. Okay, now that this thing is done, from the information which they have given us, we removed that the angle V is also congruent to angle Y because of the third angles theorem. Now from this, again, we are doing the second one. UV is congruent to WV, right? Which means XY is also congruent to ZY, which means okay, let me stop here. Now what they are saying, UV is congruent to WV. Already they have marked, which means they both are equal. XY is equal to ZY, which means this information is already given to us, right? Now what's the next thing? You can also in the same thing write that UX is equal to WZ, but they're talking about UX. So UX means you can't include that in this, because they're talking about another part of the triangle, so we need to write it in another column. Now these two were the same, so we wrote them together, but UX is not in the same part of the question, so we write this as given also. Now, what can we derive from these information which they have given, that UV is equal to WV and XY is congruent to ZY, and then UX is congruent to WZ? What can we derive from all this? We can say that UX is equal to WZ. This is what we can understand, right? And also WX, this one, this part here, should be equal to what? It should be equal to WX as well, because there is nothing else. So why did we say that UX is equal to WZ? Because of the definition of congruent segments. What does the definition of congruent segments say? That each of the segments are equal to each other. If UX is equal to WZ, Same here, wx is equal to wx. Now this part which means same, so whenever you get something like this which means the same, you need to say that it is a reflexive property. I know you have not learned this reflexive property, maybe in grade 7 we have just looked over it, but it's easy, just that it's like a reflection, the same thing. So if you find anything like that, you just say it has reflexive property of, not angles, reflexive property of equality, property of equality. Okay, now let's move on to another one. Now how do you think you can find ux? So we can also, now we have included the sides, we have included the, uh, so we are only left with this. Did we say uw is equal to xz? No, we didn't say that. We did not say uw is equal to xz. How do we know uw is equal to xz? Any idea? This is just because of, you are going to subtract the whole length, right? So this is going to be from the, so I'm just finding, is there any other way I could make it easy for you? Okay, so I think for now for you that this thing is enough. You don't even need to write this. So, but make sure that your proof at least has 5 to 6 reasons that you have given. Okay, because as I told you, it's not necessary that everyone's need to be the same. It can be different as how you would see the mm, triangles. So the proof is that we need to prove UVW is congruent to XYZ. Just make sure, did you include all the sides? Did we include UVVW? Did we include WYYZ? And did we include angle UW? Did we include angle VY? So we have included almost all of them here. So simply for the last step, you need to write triangle UVW is congruent to triangle XYZ because of the definition of congruent, it's this congruent triangles. That's it, you're done with the proof. So you have got 6 statements. So at least make sure you have 6 statements or more. If you're giving more, that's fine. So make sure that you have at least 6 statements and the reasons for them. And finally, you just need to write the proof, what you are going to prove. Why did you prove by all this that triangle UVW is equal to triangle XYZ? That's because of definition of congruent angles. That's what we are proving. So that's all. Only you need a bit of practice in proving part. Yes, you will definitely get practice because we need to do more questions of the similar. You have more questions. So hopefully the remaining part of the lesson is easy and the answers are clear. Till we meet again, do try to do some questions of this column proof, and if you have any doubts you can ask me. So see you all in the next video.